Mr. David Doel of the Rational National stopped by Krystal, Kyle, and friends, although once again, Krystal was absent. So it was just Kyle administering this interview, and I watched the majority of it. Definitely some interesting content here. Can't say that I'm the biggest David Doel fan overall. I find him to be a little bit milk toast, and he even admits at one point in this interview that he kind of crafts his commentary to appeal to people that like listen to MSNBC and CNN. So like he wants to give them a more lefty option or whatever. But you can very much tell that that's where he's like more comfortable. Again, not to shade the dude too hard, but definitely not my brand of lefty commentator. There are worse ones out there for sure. Just not my go-to guy. That being said, I did think this was an interesting conversation, and I thought there were some interesting points here that I'd like to react to and discuss, both which I agree and also that I quite fervently disagree with. So I think this will be interesting to engage with. We can take a look at some of this interview.
The desire here to improve society, to change society, to educate people, to change minds, to get people involved. And by seeing those sorts of, the Just Democrats, for example, those kinds of victories where there are slowly but surely people that are with a certain perspective that are not corrupted by corporate money, by having more of them in, they'll be able to gain power and be able to do more. I know there's a lot of disappointment right now with the Build Back Better agenda, and I agree with all of those criticisms. But understand as well, or I think we have to understand that the more of them that exist, the more power they have. So as long as, Pelosi and Schumer and Biden are the leadership of the Democratic Party, there's really only so much you're going to get done. It's once those leaders get replaced by actual left leaders, working class leaders, that's when you can really begin to judge, okay, is there actual progress here being made in Congress with these sorts of working class leaders? And I think at that point, there will be. Like when it gets to the
So just to interject real quick, you hear you say, these progressives are never going to be able to do anything so long as, Pelosi's in charge of the House, et cetera, et cetera. My response to that would be then, why not make explicit your differences with Pelosi and challenge her? Why not, maybe vote no when she's up for re-election as Speaker of the House, or at least leverage that no vote to get some concessions or some policies or a floor vote on a policy. You know what I'm saying? Maybe if you're conceding off the bat that squad members, progressives in Congress are useless as long as Pelosi's in charge and the likes of Pelosi's ideology dominates the party, then why in the God's green earth would your stance be going forward to separate yourself from the likes of Pelosi, make clear your policy differences, and accentuate how your vision for the country, how your vision of a left-leaning party is superior and a better alternative. So, off the bat, I don't love this framing, but let's give the man a chance.
Yeah, and one more thing, just to jump in also, because the other one thing you didn't mention, and I don't have as rosy of a view of David Doel. I think he's just a downright hypocrite, but that's another note for another day. You can watch our other videos where we illustrate that. But for one, Nancy Pelosi has been representing her district in San Francisco for fucking 33 years. A part of his genius plan right here that he's patiently explaining to everybody is that we need to wait like 30 fucking years until AOC has the experience and the power that Nancy Pelosi has. Guess what, dingus? We don't have 30 years. And if we did, she would be corrupted by the same swamp water that Nancy Pelosi was, who at one point was also nominally in favor of a single payer healthcare system in the United States, because that's how the entire system is designed to function. And it's just completely obvious that that's the case. So while I wouldn't stand here and make the argument that, if you're in your district and, your election day comes, like, sure, you should vote for the leftmost fucking elected official. But at the end of the day, they've given us no reason to ever believe that they're going to put their money where their mouth is. They've never once stood up to the establishment in a time when it mattered. They've never held up legislation. Just look at the evolution of AOC from when she was sitting outside Nancy Pelosi's office to now. Like she's, it's clear already that in 3 years, it didn't take 33 for AOC. It took about 3 to be rendered entirely impotent, to be rendered useless, and to have all of her teeth taken out. She's like a declawed cat. She was feral, and now she just wants to get fed, fancy feast and lay on your lap and purr while people take pictures. That's kind of the way it is now. And it's so obvious. And guys like this, they know. They fucking know. We all know. But this idea that, as you said, Gavin, he just comes out and says it is like, well, I'm trying to frame this in a way that I can massively grow my audience like David Pakman has, or I can massively grow my audience in a way that I can, not get fucked by the YouTube algorithm. That's the quiet part out loud. But I'm sorry, I'm not trying to derail the conversation by taking a massive shit on this guy, even though he deserves it a lot of time.
No, I more or less agree with everything you just said, especially the cat analogy. That's really perfect for AOC. But yeah, just to expound a little further, the reason, or at least a big part of the reason why this whole logic of like, we just got to get more progressives in Congress. We just got to get like 40 or 50 AOCs in there. The problem with that is that, like you said, Zach, look at how much AOC has changed since she got into Congress. Once someone gets into Congress, at least, in the case of 99% of them, maybe like the Cynthia McKinneys or whatever that are evade this rule. But for the vast majority, most people, regardless of their intentions, once they get into that meat grinder, they get ground up like fucking meat. That's just what's going to happen. They're going to get less progressive, less radical, and more entrenched in the establishment the longer they stay there. So by the time we have 40 or 50 AOCs or however many AOCs we need, we can assume that the original AOC and probably the next couple generations of AOCs after her will have already been corrupted by that point. They will have already found themselves entrenched into this system, and they won't necessarily feel the same urgency and vigor in fighting it and resisting it. So yeah, that's automatically a problem off the bat. And yeah, I agree. I think you should also vote for the leftmost option. But that doesn't mean we should delude ourselves either into thinking that this long term is going to be a real strategy for influencing change in this country, at least not in the way that we need to. So yeah, we can keep watching this.
One more quick thing, because I just have to mention this because it was a real eye roll thing for me. And I just want to be honest, right? Like, and it seems like this always happens when people start shows like this. Like, I understand why people are a little like eye rolly at this. It's like, when are you ever going to have somebody on this show that presents like a leftmost challenge to you guys? Like, you guys always like Kyle and Krystal, who do a great job with the people that they interview. They seemingly do not bring on people who are markedly to the left of them. And I'm not talking about Jimmy Dore. If you guys don't want to have Jimmy Dore on your show, that's fine. But there are plenty of other people who are dramatically to the left of, David Doel that aren't Jimmy Dore. Even though I would like to see a conversation between Krystal, Kyle, and Jimmy, just to have them sort things out and see where their politics really differ from each other at this point. I think that would be an interesting conversation, but you could have conversations with other people, who are representative of a very firm, uncompromising left position. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like, they're finding a lot of interesting people, but a lot of times when it's YouTube commentary, it's like, it's the Hassan Pikers, it's the David Doles. I wouldn't be surprised to see the guy like Pakman on there at some point. You know what I mean? And you don't get a lot of that other side of the argument, like, no, we need to be, doing mutual aid. I'd love to see the FHL guys get an opportunity. Obviously, they need to, gain a little bit of a higher profile. I get it. But I think it would be good to give them that opportunity. They would do a great job. Some people like that who are really uncompromising, some people who,
yeah, no, I totally agree. And that reminds me, Kyle at one point said that they were going to have Chris Hedges on in the near future. I have yet to see that. I think he's a perfect embodiment of what you're talking about. I would love to hear Kyle Kulinski debate or discuss with Chris Hedges, for example, the idea of a third party. Something that Kyle Kulinski repeatedly, expresses that he doesn't necessarily think is a good idea. He's called it a waste of time a million times. And Chris Hedges, on the other hand, who I think makes a very, very compelling case for that. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Zach. And one of the reasons, I enjoy Kyle Kulinski's commentary overall. I think he's a good faith, honest commentator. But I do totally agree that, when this show was announced, Krystal, Kyle, and Friends, something that I was really excited about that they stressed, that they emphasized in the rollout was that they wouldn't just be having on people that they agree with, that they would be having on people that they disagree with and getting into those disagreements. And that was something I was really excited about. To again hear Kyle Kulinski, Krystal Ball, and whoever kind of hash out some differences of opinions, kind of debate a little bit. And we haven't seen a lot of that. They had Vosh on in the early days, and that was kind of sort of an episode where they disagreed. But
Vosh just straight up lied to Krystal's face about his criticisms of her.
Yeah, 100%. They not only did he lie about his criticisms of her, but they didn't really, challenge him at all. They basically just accepted everything he said and like, oh yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from, or yeah, I know what you mean, and You are right on that. You are right on this. They didn't really like defend themselves a lot. It wasn't like a lot of like, this is my stand and I'm going to defend it and you're wrong. No, it was a lot of like giving the ground to him. And I get it. Neither Kyle nor Krystal seem like the most confrontational people, but they also, have a lot of opinions and a lot of stances that they iterate on their shows on a daily basis over and over again. And it's like, yeah, might as well engage with some people that disagree, and not just people to your left like Chris Hedges, but I would even be interested in seeing them have on some like right wingers or libertarians and stuff like that to actually have a debate, have a discussion. Like that's what you said the show was going to be about, and really hasn't lived up to that yet, in my opinion. So, we'll see, but it seems like they are going with a lot of safe choices, and including Mr. David Doel, who we're talking about right now.
Point where there is someone like, someone like a Cory Bush in charge of the House, then you're going to be able to see some actual progress get made. Now, the other issue, though, of course.
So again, sorry to break in again, even though we were just talking, but he just said, maybe if Cory Bush was the Speaker of the House, then we could get something done. To which my response would be, then why did if you think Cory Bush can become Speaker of the House when she doesn't even have the balls to vote no on Pelosi's reelection, or to leverage her no vote for something, for a reward, for you know what I'm saying, for a concession? This is madness to think that someone like Cory Bush, who I supported when she ran for House, here in Missouri. We had her on the show. I was very inspired by her story, her activist background, etc. I think she definitely is a good person with the right intentions. But she's proven since being elected that she doesn't have the gumption to go after Pelosi, to, put herself in that role, to be like, I should be the Speaker of the House. Maybe I should lead this fucking party. Maybe my ideas are better than yours. No, we haven't seen that from her at all.
Especially, this is the major issue, is climate change. There is a limited time frame that we have to really improve things. And, even apart from that, of course, every single day people are suffering with a lack of pay, lack of paid leave. And this is also a major issue, or one of the main reasons why I find American politics so fascinating, is that there really is an influence that the U.S. has over other countries, especially as a Canadian. I see it every day. We almost use the U.S. as like the lowest bar. So as long as we're a little better than Americans, then everything's fine. But so if, for example, if Bernie's Medicare for All bill had passed, we would have to improve our healthcare system, because our healthcare system does not include dental, does not include, it may include vision. Actually, I'm not even sure about that, but it doesn't include dental. Universal pharmacare is not there. So we would have to then react. We couldn't just have, a second fiddle healthcare system compared to Americans. And that goes for a lot of issues. So when the U.S. improves, I think we all improve, and it begins to raise the bar in terms of what is acceptable for the rest of society worldwide.
Yeah. To your point, I think that there is like this follower effect that can happen if you just have one really strong leader. So I actually have no doubt that if there was one congressperson on the left flank who was bold enough to stand up and be like, 1.75 trillion is not enough. If you want my vote, here's a list of executive orders. If one of them went out there and did a press conference like Joe Manchin did and made that argument, then I think you'd have a bunch of them come out of the woodworks and be like, I'm with him or her. That's a good idea. Because we actually saw that on a different issue. It wasn't even necessarily one that I would have championed, but I think it was Cory Bush who came out after January 6th and was like, I want to expel any of the Congress people who were involved or something like that, or any of them who downplayed the election because it's literally anti-democratic and authoritarian. And so I want them expelled from Congress. And I happen to know that behind the scenes, all of them are really hesitant to say that because they think it's like goes too far, it violates decorum, it's all that stuff. But then when Cory Bush went out there and said it, there were like 4 or 5 that immediately followed her and were like, that I agree with that. So that.
Okay, so to break in here, I can't help but think this is just incredibly naive from Kyle Kulinski, especially given his, in the past, very acute analysis of where the Justice Democrats have totally failed and the mission which they initially set out to achieve or embark on. So he's talking about how after January 6th, Cory Bush came out here and very boldly asserted that any of the Congress people, any of the senators involved with inciting this insurrection or supporting it should basically be expelled from Congress. And she basically got a shit ton of credit and kudos from the left media when she did that. So maybe that's why the other, squad members followed alongside her, Kyle Kulinski. They followed her after that because of the fact that they saw she was getting that, positive reinforcement from social media and from left media, from the, MSNBC's role. I don't mean left media as in like the fucking Vanguard or whatever. Obviously, I don't necessarily, I agree with the position. I just don't think it's a brave stance to take. What's a really brave stance to take is making your own party look bad, making your own caucus look bad, is actually throwing some shade on and criticizing the leadership of your party, Nancy Pelosi or the President Joe Biden. These are the battles, the uphill battles, which are much more courageous to take on, and which honestly will not win you any praise in the media. In fact, the media is going to make you out to be an obstructionist. It's going to make you out to be a pariah. It's going to make you out to be someone that is, not playing along and is holding up the process, even if you're taking a real principled stand against legislation, for example, such as the Build Back Better, after it's been gutted. Obviously you're not going to be, the media is not going to be singing their praises. They're not going to be on your side. And unfortunately, what we've seen time and time again from the squad members, from the Justice Democrats or progressives in Congress, is that they can't stand the heat. They can't stand up to that fire coming from the media or the criticism. And it really, unfortunately, affects them to a degree that I don't think any of us could have predicted. So, I think that, like I said, I think it's just very naive for Kyle Kulinski to say like, oh, well, all we need is one more squad member, maybe a Nina Turner or something to go in there and really, stand up and lead, take those unpopular positions. And then, all the other ones, they'll just get in line and follow behind her. I actually don't think that's true, unfortunately. I think that even if you did have a Nina Turner in there or someone, I don't even think Nina Turner would be capable of this at this point. After what I've seen from her recently, I haven't been particularly impressed. But, even if you do get some like really, really charismatic anti-establishment lefty in there, and they start taking those unpopular positions, they start really trying to make these tough calls and lead the resistance against the corporate Democrats. I think when it really comes down to it and those really tough positions, I don't necessarily think the AOCs of the party or the Rokanas are going to follow behind them. I think at this point they've proven that they're too far down the swamp.
Yeah. Since when is it courageous to call out Republicans? Like, that's what's baffling to me about this, right? Like, the Nancy Pelosi signs off, chef kiss. That helps us fundraise when you go after Marjorie Taylor Greene. No fucking shit. They don't care about that. No wonder the squad followed to that. Oh yeah, this is going to help me fundraise. Sign me up.